everyone, a very good morning. It's just past 8 this Friday morning and we're backing in with all the news and breakfast news. I am Nancy Kohli and over the next 1 hour we'll get you news from across the nation, world, sports and business updates and also a look at what the national dailies are carrying this morning. But first a look at the top stories. BJP slams the Congress over allegations that the HRD minister and the government instigated violence at the JNU. Senior BJP leader Prakash Javadekar terms the allegations as false, says police probe will bring the truth to the fore and unmask those behind the violence. Envoys of 15 countries on a two-day Jammu and Kashmir visit to get an overview of the restoration of normalcy in the Union Territory. The envoys meet the security officials, civil society and political representatives. The External Affairs Ministry says the purpose was to highlight restoration of normalcy in the valley. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh receives a telephone call from the US Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. The two leaders resolved to strengthen bilateral defense cooperation. Mark Esper briefs Raksha Mantri about the recent developments in the Gulf region. Snowfall in the hill states of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Work underway to clear snow from the roads. Cold wave returns as almost all parts of the country receive rains. In international news, Iran forms an investigating committee with the experts from relevant countries to probe into reasons behind Ukrainian plane crash which accounted for 176 lives. Invites Boeing to take part in Ukraine plane crash inquiry. UK lawmakers approved legislation allowing Britain to leave European Union on 31st of January with an exit deal with European Union. The legislation now heads to the Parliament's upper chamber and expected to become law in the coming weeks. In sports news, Khelo India Youth Games to kick off from today in Guwahati. 6,800 sportspersons from 37 states and union territories to vie for glory in the 20 sporting disciplines. India to take on Sri Lanka in the third and final T20 international match at Pune this evening. The men in blue are 1-0 up in the three-match T20 series with first game having been abandoned due to bad weather. A top story, the Bharatiya Janata Party has suggested that the masked mob that indulged in violence at the JNU was linked to student unions affiliated with the left and the Congress, saying these bodies were upset because students did not adhere to their boycott call to the semester registration process. Senior party leader and Union Minister Prakash Javadekar refuted Congress's allegation that Home Minister Amit Shah and the HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal were responsible for the violence at the JNU. He described it as an utterly false allegation and a case of pot calling the kettle black. The minister also said that a police investigation is on and it will unmask these masked people. He added that a lie will not become truth because of it being repeated by the Congress and other parties. Javadekar also blamed the left-wing student leaders for the violence at the JNU.
कांग्रेस नेताओं ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में कहा कि जेएनयू का हिंसा सरकार एवं मानव संसाधन विकास मंत्री द्वारा प्रायोजित है। हद हो गई, उल्टा चोर कोतवाल को डांटे। वहां विश्वविद्यालय में सेमेस्टर के लिए रजिस्ट्रेशन की प्रक्रिया 1 जनवरी को शुरू हुई। 1 जनवरी को 1100 छात्रों ने अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन करवाया, जिसका बहिष्कार करने का आह्वान कम्युनिस्ट और कांग्रेस के यूनियंस ने किया था। पुलिस इंक्वायरी में सब सच्चाई बाहर होगी, नकाबपोश बेनकाब होंगे।
Moving on now, Delhi-based envoys from 50 nations are on a two-day visit of Kashmir to help see for themselves the efforts being taken to bring back normalcy in the valley after abrogation of Article 370. The External Affairs Ministry has rejected the criticism that the visit is like a guided tour. During the visit, the envoys are holding meetings with the security officials and civil society. After the abrogation of Article 370 in JNK, the situation continues to be getting normal. Some countries expressed the desire to get a first-hand look at the ground situation in Kashmir. Following this, envoys from 15 nations, including the US, are in Jammu and Kashmir for a two-day visit. The Delhi-based envoys, who came on a special chartered flight, landed at Srinagar's technical airport and were taken directly to the army cantonment for a briefing. Besides the US, the team comprises envoys from South Korea, Morocco, Nigeria, Guyana, Argentina, Norway, Philippines, Maldives, Togo, Fiji, Peru, Bangladesh and Vietnam.
उनको ले जाने का मकसद था वो खुद जाके देख सके कि पिछले 5 महीने में अगस्त के बाद किस ढंग से नॉर्मलसी वहाँ आई है, सिचुएशन नॉर्मल हुआ है। उसके अलावा ये भी बताना ज़रूरी था कि जो स्थानीय प्रशासन है उनके तरफ से किस ढंग से इसके लिए प्रयास किया जा रहा है, वो भी उनको दिखाना ज़रूरी था। जहाँ तक प्रोग्राम का सवाल है, ये ध्यान में रख के बनाया गया था और उसके लिए पुख्ता इंतजाम भी किए गए थे कि अभी भी थ्रेट वहाँ है, टेररिज्म का थ्रेट है, उसी हिसाब से।
The first meeting of the envoys was with the security officials to get a sense of security situation in JNK and also threat posed by terrorism in maintaining peace. The group of envoys was taken around Srinagar and met the political leaders. The interaction was an extensive one. They also met the panchayat members and representatives of local bodies and NGOs as well as civil society groups. The envoys also interacted with the local media. Before returning to Delhi, the envoys will hold talks in Jammu on Friday. Meanwhile, political activity is also picking up in JNK. PDP leader Muzaffar Hussain Beg interacted with the media and alleged that her provocative statements resulted in the downgrading of JNK state into union territory.
हालात बेहतर होने से ये बुरान है, जैसा पिछले 3-4 महीने में हुआ, 5 महीने में हुआ, आर्मी ने और सीआरपी ने कोई गोली नहीं चलाई। ये पार्लियामेंट में भी होम मिनिस्टर ने बयान दिया, ये तो दुनिया को भी मालूम है।
In another development, the PDP on Thursday expelled 8 party leaders who were part of the delegation that met the envoys on Thursday. Earlier in the week, they had met Lieutenant Governor G.C. Murmu. The party claims they have gone against the will of the people by engaging in parleys with the government. The visit is part of government's efforts to dispel the propaganda and misinformation being spread by Pakistan. The objective is to show the world the impact of government's efforts to ensure normalcy. With Ajay Vikram, DD India. And let's now go across to our correspondent Ajay Vikram Singh, who's joining us on the phone line for more updates on that. Ajay, good morning. The envoys will be today holding talks in Jammu. What's the schedule like for today before the return to the national capital? Ajay, could you hear me? Yeah.
आज ये प्रतिनिधिमंडल जाएगा, उपराज्यपाल से मुलाकात करेगा जीसी मुर्मू से, और उनसे मुलाकात के बाद कुछ 1-2 कार्यक्रम हैं और उसके बाद वो दिल्ली वापस चले जाएंगे। लेकिन उपराज्यपाल से मुलाकात के दौरान जो यहाँ की वास्तविक स्थिति है, प्रशासन किस तरह से काम कर रहा है, किन चुनौतियों का सामना कर रहा है और किस तरह से यहाँ के बेहतर विकास के लिए जो काम कर रहा है, इस विषय पर बातचीत होगी। इसके साथ ही साथ दूसरे पहले ये नहीं है कि और विश्व विरासती के अंदर बातचीत होगी
Okay. Ajay, we seem to be having a bit of a problem there connecting with you. Your audio is not very clear. We'll try and get back to you, have that phone link reconnected with you and get more inputs on that. But thanks very much for the moment though. So day 2 of the visit by the 15 envoys of different countries, of course, there and a correspondent was telling us about their schedule for today. Of course, yesterday they had met with the civil society, the local media and of course the political representatives as well to get a first-hand view of the ground situation, the normalcy there in the valley after the abrogation of Article 370. Moving on now, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh held a telephonic conversation with US Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, during which they discussed the evolving security situation in the Gulf region. In a tweet, the Raksha Mantri said, I quote, had a telephonic conversation with the US Secretary of Defense Dr. Mark T. Esper. We expressed firm resolve to strengthen the bilateral defense cooperation. He also briefed me about the recent developments in the Gulf region. I shared India's concerns and interests in the region, unquote. And the Raksha Mantri also held a telephonic conversation with his Japanese counterpart Taro Kono and exchanged views on regional security scenario. The two defense ministers had discussions on enhancing the bilateral security cooperation under the framework of the India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership. In a tweet, the ministers said, I quote, had productive discussions with the Japanese defense minister at Kono Taro MP over the telephone on further enhancing the bilateral defense and security cooperation between India and Japan. Also exchanged views on the regional developments, including the recent development in the Gulf, unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the fundamentals of the Indian economy are strong and that it has the capacity to bounce back. Prime Minister Modi seems to have taken charge of the efforts to revive the economy. Over the past few days, the Prime Minister has held as many as 12 brainstorming meetings with different stakeholders over various issues affecting the economy and to thrash out appropriate policy interventions in the upcoming budget. Here's more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with economists and entrepreneurs from different fields on the broad theme of economic development at Niti Aayog in New Delhi. The Modi government has been using the consultative approach to deal with issues facing the economy. On the 6th of January, the Prime Minister had interacted with top business leaders and had addressed the centenary celebrations of Kirloskar brothers. At all these meetings, the Prime Minister expressed his confidence about the Indian economy and the opportunities for investment. At his interaction in Niti Aayog with 38 participants representing private equity venture capitalists, business leaders from manufacturing, travel and tourism, apparel and FMCG, analytics, subject experts in the fields of agriculture, science and technology and finance, the Prime Minister called for focused effort from all stakeholders to achieve a $5 trillion economy. The two-hour open discussion brought to the forefront experience of people on the ground. PM said it would enhance synergy between policymakers and various stakeholders. Prime Minister said the idea of a $5 trillion economy is not a sudden development. It is based on a deep understanding of the country's strengths. The meeting was part of the pre-budget exercise. Prime Minister said that sectors like tourism, urban development, infrastructure and agri-based industry have a great potential for employment generation. Among sectors that drew the Prime Minister's attention were travel and tourism and agriculture. The Prime Minister was keen that India's brand value could be built by destination development.
The reality is that we haven't done justice to domestic destinations. Most of our hill stations and other places have become too crowded in peak season. And he totally concurred, and he said the trouble is we are not doing it cohesively. So when urban planning is making a city, they're probably not giving enough importance to the destination of merit or when roads are being built, etc. So he did agree, and he felt that, yeah, we should do more around that point. So I think just to get the opportunity to present firsthand, normally it's done through associations, normally it's done at the highest bureaucracy levels, but to do it at the highest level, to present that is a unique opportunity. So I think industry was very happy to get that opportunity. Industry was very happy with the intent with which we were listened to.
One of the key concerns raised by the industrialists was slowing demand. FMCG companies are hoping that the effective demand will get a boost in the upcoming budget.
Most of the categories in the FMCG are almost running flat. There's no spending power with the consumers, so I think government needs to do something to the personal income tax. They've done a lot about the corporate tax. Corporate tax has improved the sentiment for the stock market, but nothing happened to the consumer. So I think by personal income tax slabs coming down, there'll be some money in the hands of the consumer, and hopefully the sentiment and the disposable incomes will be available for spending in FMCG categories.
The government was represented by Union Ministers Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari, Narendra Tomar and Piyush Goyal, Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Rajiv Kumar and members V.K. Saraswat, Ramesh Chand, V.K. Paul and CEO Amitabh Kant. Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council Chairman Bibek Derboy, Cabinet Secretary and Secretaries of the Ministries of Finance were also present on the occasion. In his concluding remarks, the Prime Minister said that India is a land of huge opportunities and the fastest growing major economy of the world. He highlighted the strength of the economy to absorb shocks and rebound with high growth. He thanked the business leaders for their ideas and suggestions and frank discussion, from which solutions to problems will emerge. The brainstorming session brought to the fore ideas of a young, vibrant and new India. Mark Lin, DD News, Delhi.
Nobel laureate Richard Thaler called on Prime Minister Modi in New Delhi on Thursday. The Prime Minister said he got to know interesting aspects of his work during the interaction. Thaler was awarded the Nobel Prize for his contribution to behavioral economics. Nudge is a concept in behavioral science, political theory and behavioral economics that proposes positive reinforcement and indirect suggestions as ways to influence the behavior and decision-making of groups or individuals. India's permanent representative to the UN, Syed Akbaruddin, lashed out at Pakistan for peddling false narrative in New Delhi and said that there are no takers for your malware. Speaking at the Security Council Ministerial Open Debate on the UN Charter, Akbaruddin said that Pakistan has once again displayed dark actions and intentions by spreading false news. Condemning Pakistan's actions that have evoked global threat to security and peace, Akbaruddin added that there needs to be a council that is a representative of current global realities.
One delegation that epitomizes the dark arts has yet again displayed its wares by peddling falsehoods earlier today. These we dismiss with disdain. My simple response to that delegation, the delegation of Pakistan, is even though it is late, neighbor, heal thyself of your malaise. There are no takers here for your malware.
A high-level military delegation led by Lieutenant General Ranbir Singh, commander of the Indian Army's Northern Command, visited Xinjiang, the politically important northwest province of China, bordering Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and held talks with the senior Chinese military leaders in province's capital Urumqi on the issues of mutual interest. Today, he will be visiting a regiment of Xinjiang Military Command. The 5-day visit is part of agreed defense engagements between both the sides agreed during annual defense dialogues. The visit is aimed at enhancing confidence-building measures between the armies of both the sides to understand each other's sensitivities on the ground and avoid any misunderstanding along the border. Now, this visit comes just after the joint military exercise Hand in Hand 2019 held between the two armies in Meghalaya in December 2019. Few days back, China had expressed its willingness to work with the Indian side to follow the guidance of Prime Minister Modi and President Xi for development of military-to-military relationship along the right track and make more contribution to the growth of the bilateral relations. And moving on now to weather updates. Heavy snowfall in the last 2 days in the hilly areas of Uttarakhand has brought normal life to a standstill as key highways remain blocked and disrupted both power and water supply. Hundreds of villages and areas are cut off from rest of the country, with higher reaches receiving over 6 feet snowfall. Apart from the hills, the plains also received rainfall, bringing the temperature down. The government officials said that relief measures are being implemented to restore communication along with power and water supply. The worst affected districts are Chamoli, Tehri, Pauri, Rudraprayag and Uttarakashi. Temperatures have even gone below zero at many locations. The Himachal Pradesh capital saw the coldest night in 11 years, with the mercury dipping to minus 3.7 degrees Celsius yesterday. Likewise, the tourist resort Manali experienced the coldest in 9 years, with the minimum temperature nose diving to minus 7.8 degrees. A day earlier, both Shimla and Manali had received plentiful snowfall. The state's lowest temperature was minus 14.6 degrees recorded in Keelong, the headquarters of Lahaul Spiti. The Met Department said that the minimum temperature at most of the places fell by 4 to 5 degrees and these were the season's lowest. It also said another western disturbance is likely to hit the western Himalayan region from 11th January, bringing more rain and snowfall. And in the national capital, Delhi, the minimum temperature dropped on Thursday and is expected to dip further over the weekend due to icy winds coming in from the hills, according to the Met Department. The city recorded a minimum of 8.4 degrees Celsius, while the maximum settled at 15 degrees Celsius. Another spell of rain is expected in Delhi NCR around 13th or 14th January due to a fresh western disturbance. And let's now get you this ground report aimed at doubling the income of farmers and to reduce the risk involved in farming. The positive results of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana are visible all across the country. Let's take a look at this ground report from Raichur district of Karnataka.
Despite being situated between Krishna and Tungabhadra rivers, Raichur district of Karnataka faces rain deficit and financial distress due to crop failure. With cotton, groundnut, paddy, jowar and sunflower being the principal crops, the farmers were facing a hard time. However, since the last few years, farmers have been relieved of the stress with the implementation of PM Fasal Bima Yojana in the district. The farmers are thankful to the government for this initiative.
ಪ್ರತಿ ಸೀಸನ್ಗೆ ಮುಂಗಾರು ಹಿಂಗಾರು ಬೇಸಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ
Due to shortfall in rain last year, my harvest was not satisfactory. I lost my crop, but I received 4,80,000 rupees under Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana insurance scheme. Today I am economically secure and I am able to sustain thanks to Fasal Bima Yojana.
ಒಂದು 700 ಜನ ನಮ್ಮ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ಶೂರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಿ.
ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಮಂತ್ರಿ ಫಸಲ್ ಬಿಮಾ ಯೋಜನೆ ನಾವು
I lost my crop of tuor dal on my 2-acre farm due to unavoidable circumstances. But thanks to Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, the crop insurance amount was credited directly into my bank account within a few days. It was a great help.
ಇನ್ಶೂರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಲೇಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಟುಂಬಕ್ಕೆ 4,80,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಟುಂಬಕ್ಕೆ 4 ಲಕ್ಷ.
ಇನ್ಶೂರೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ವಿ 2 ಎಕರೆಗೆ, ಶಾಂಪಲ್ಗೆ 2 ಎಕರೆ ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ವಿ. ಇನ್ಶೂರೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಬಂದಿತ್ತು.
Initially I faced some problems in getting the insurance amount. But after the issues were resolved, the entire amount was credited directly into my account. It is a great scheme.
ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. DC ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು, ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರದಿಂದ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು ಮತ್ತೆ ಡಿ.
At a time when crop yield has become unpredictable, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana is helping farmers become secure and financially strong. It is giving them hope and confidence to continue farming even in times of large crop failures, helping them tide through tough times. Bureau Report, DD News.
Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, an initiative of the central government, was launched with the objective to provide affordable housing to the financially weak. With the target of building 20 million houses by 31st March 2022, the scheme is being implemented in full swing across the country. Let's take a look at this ground report to see the impact the scheme is having in Solan district of Himachal Pradesh.
Under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the dream of thousands of families across the country of owning a house has come to fruition. Even in Himachal Pradesh, the number of those who have benefited under the scheme is worth noting. The state has also been awarded a national award for the outstanding work it has done in the field of housing development. In Solan district, 89 families have got a house under the scheme. Residents of Seri Panchayat share that earlier life was tough living in temporary structures. After getting a Pakka house under the scheme, they are really happy and thank the government for this initiative.
हमारे को ये पहला रहने के लिए ऐसा मकान नहीं था, कच्चा मकान था। फिर अभी योजना मिली हमारे को सरकार की तरफ से, इसमें हमने मकान बनाया हुआ। सर ऐसे अच्छी हुई, मददगार तो अच्छी है हमारे को, जिसमें हमारा मकान बन गया हुआ।
हमारे पहले कच्चे मकान होते थे, उसमें पानी की दिक्कत होती थी। हाँ जी।
तो अब किस तरह का फायदा हो रहा है?
अब अच्छा है जी, मकान ठीक बन गए, अब ठीक हो गया हमारा मकान।
तो जो प्रधानमंत्री की आवास योजना है, इससे क्या लाभ हुआ आपको?
लाभ हुआ जी, हमारे को मकान बने और सब कुछ अब ठीक हुआ हमारा।
प्रधानमंत्री योजना से हमें बहुत लाभ मिला है। हमें पहले हमारे घरों में पानी लगता था, बरसात में बहुत बुरे हाल होते थे, तो इससे हमारे घर अच्छी तरह से बन चुके हैं। अब हम बड़े आराम से रहते हैं। सरकार द्वारा मिली उनका हम प्रधानमंत्री जी का धन्यवाद करना चाहती हूँ।
There are many such families in Solan district of Himachal Pradesh that are not in position to afford a pakka house. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana has come as a blessing for them by helping them fulfill this long cherished dream of theirs. Thousands of families living below the poverty line have already benefited from this scheme in the state, with around 90 families of Solan having already availed the benefits. A sum of around 1 crore has been spent so far in the implementation and execution of this scheme. Bureau Report, DD News.
And here's now a wrap of different news from across the regions, different regions.
The Supreme Court has called for peace over the turmoil on Citizenship Amendment Bill. It has refused to entertain a plea seeking the Citizenship Amendment Act be declared constitutional. Vinay Sharma, one of the 4 death row convicts of the 2012 Nirbhaya gang rape case, has filed a curative petition in the Supreme Court. Sharma, along with 3 others, was sentenced to be hanged on January 22nd by the Patiala House Court. A curative petition is the last legal remedy available to a convict. Cold continues to affect day-to-day life in northern India. While Doda district of Jammu and Kashmir received snowfall for the 2nd consecutive day, Shimla woke up to sunny morning. The Met Department issued a fresh orange warning for heavy rain, snowfall for Himachal Pradesh. Nainital too received fresh snowfall. Punjab and Haryana also witnessed a drop in the mercury levels. Fugitive gangster Ijaz Lakrawala, wanted in connection with several cases of extortion and attempt to kill, has been arrested by Mumbai Police's anti-extortion cell. Lakrawala was arrested by the anti-extortion cell with the help of Bihar Police. Addressing the media, Mumbai Police Commissioner Sanjay Barve said that he was produced in a Mumbai court which remanded him in police custody till January 21st. Union Home Secretary Ajay Kumar Bhalla and Delhi Police Commissioner Amulya Patnaik are scheduled to appear before the Parliamentary Standing Committee for Home Affairs on January 13th over rising crimes in Delhi, according to the Rajya Sabha Secretariat. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu attended the inaugural session of a conference titled Indian Democracy at Work, Money Power in Politics at the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. He urged political parties to consider the option of conducting simultaneous assembly and parliamentary polls and evolve a consensus. 2 separate incidents of fire were reported in the Delhi NCR region. The first incident occurred in Patparganj industrial area at a printing press. A 25-year-old man lost his life in the accident. 30 fire tenders were called to douse the fire. The other incident occurred at the ESIC hospital in Noida. The fire broke out in the basement of the 7-story building. While the damage is yet to be assessed, no casualties were reported in the incident. Arunachal Pradesh Education Minister Tawa Teder said that around 311 schools are lying non-operation in the state due to zero enrollment. Teder was replying to Congress leader Nabam Tuki in the assembly. He added that most of these defunct schools are located in remote areas of the state and attributed lack of infrastructure and mass migration to urban areas as reasons for zero enrollment. Punjab Assembly will convene a 2-day special session to ratify the Constitution Bill 2019 extending reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities in Lok Sabha and state assemblies by another 10 years. The special session will commence on January 16th. Fans of superstar Rajnikant thronged the theatres early in the morning to watch the first show of the actor's latest film Darbar. Fans gathered outside areas with dhol and flowers. The film released in Tamil, Telugu and Hindi.
And moving on now to news from around the world, Iran has formed an investigating committee to probe the Ukrainian plane crash. In a statement by the Iranian government, the committee will examine the incident transparently, precisely, quickly, with the participation of all the experts from the relevant countries. Iranian government has also expressed condolences to the bereaved families. Meanwhile, US, Canadian and UK officials believe the airline was down by a missile system fired by Iran, possibly by mistake. The Ukraine International Airlines Boeing 737 plane departed the Iranian capital's Imam Khomeini International Airport en route Kiev in Ukraine early Wednesday. The crash came hours after Iran launched missile attacks on the US troops at 2 Iraqi bases in retaliation for the killing of Qasem Soleimani. The crash killed all 176 on board, mostly Iranians and Iranian Canadians. The Ukrainian International Airlines also announced indefinite suspension of all the flights to Iran after the plane crash. Meanwhile, a senior Iranian commander has said that Iran's missile attacks on U.S. targets in Iraq did not aim to kill American soldiers but were a lesson to get the U.S. troops to withdraw from the region. The commander also said the strikes were the start of a series of attacks across the Middle East. He also said appropriate revenge promised by Iran for the killing of Soleimani would be to expel the U.S. troops from the Middle East. He also said Iran had hundreds of missiles at the ready and could have at least 500 Americans killed within 48 hours. The UK government's bill for Britain's exit from European Union on 31st of January finally cleared the House of Commons. The MPs voted for it 330 votes to 231. It marks a historic moment for the bill, which has repeatedly been defeated in Parliament in its various forms in the past, creating parliamentary gridlock over Brexit. The bill will now go to the House of Lords on Monday for voting before royal assent from the Queen to become the law. Meanwhile, new European Union President von der Leyen has warned that it would not be possible to sort out every aspect of Britain's future relationship with European Union before 31st December this year, transition period deadline. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, however, said Britain was ready to start negotiations on the future partnership and Canada-style FTA as soon as possible after 31st of January. In Australia, the New South Wales government has pledged a further $1 billion to help rebuild communities. Australian authorities has urged another mass evacuation across the country's heavily populated southeast ahead of intensifying bushfires. The Victoria State Premier has also urged communities to be on alert ahead of the extreme conditions. To assist with the deadly ongoing bushfires, the US firefighters arrived at the Sydney International Airport to take stock of the situation. Meanwhile, Australian cricket captain Tim Paine and spinner Nathan Lyon visited areas devastated by the bushfires in New South Wales and met with the firefighters to lift their spirits. The majority of the fires that have destroyed most of Australia's east coast occurred in New South Wales, where around 1,800 houses have been destroyed so far. 27 people have been killed this season. The monster fires have scorched more than 10.3 million hectares of land and has also made thousands homeless. In Niger, suspected Islamist militants killed 25 soldiers and wounded 6 others in an attack on an army post near border with Mali on Thursday. It was not immediately clear who was responsible for the attack on the post, but it coincides with the campaign by Islamist groups connected to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State to force the Nigerian army back from its western frontier with Mali. The attackers approached the military post on motorcycles and other vehicles and were met with resistance from the army and the Air Force. 63 assailants were also killed during the raid. Thousands marched against the French government's pension reforms in cities around the country on Thursday. The unions demanded the government to drop its pension reform. The French rail workers, teachers, doctors and lawyers also joined the nationwide protests and strikes to denounce President Emmanuel Macron's plans to overhaul the pension system. Street protests were staged in Paris and other French cities as the government and the labor unions pushed on with the negotiations. Tear gas swirled at the protesters as riot police charged at demonstrators who hurled projectiles and lobbed insults in cat-and-mouse skirmishes as darkness fell. According to police, at least 16 people were arrested during the protest in Paris. The French government wants to streamline France's unwieldy pension system and incentivize the French to stay in work longer to pay for some of the most generous retirement benefits in the industrialized world. And in more news from around the world, in Peru, days of intense rain have caused rivers to overflow and has triggered mudslides. According to authorities, hundreds of residents have been left homeless and at least 200 animals were killed in the flash floods. Several roads have also been cut off. An estimate of around 1,500 hectares of fields have also been damaged. The National Institute of Civil Defense has reported that 28 people have died and over 1,000 emergencies have been registered since the rainy season began in September. The country was badly hit by floods in northern and central coastal regions, causing rivers to overflow, leading to floods and landslides. According to meteorologists, the weather pattern had emerged due to the El Nino effect. However, the weather department has now predicted rainy season to be extended till April now. And let's now get you some news from the finance and the business world. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman held a pre-budget consultation meetings with the party's national office bearers. In Delhi, the meeting was also attended by Morcha members, departments, publications and think tanks. The BJP National General Secretary Arun Singh said the government is striving towards the welfare of people.
विभिन्न ग्रुप जो हमारे यहाँ हैं, चाहे किसान मोर्चा, युवा मोर्चा, महिला मोर्चा, उनके प्रमुख कार्यकर्ताओं से उनके सुझाव लिए। हमारे यहाँ बुद्धिजीवी सेल है, इंटेलेक्चुअल से उन्होंने भी मीटिंग किया। उसी प्रकार अलग अलग वर्गों से उन्होंने संवाद किया और सब लोगों ने यही सुझाव दिया कि जिस प्रकार से माननीय मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हर वर्ग को ध्यान दिया जा रहा है, गरीब का किस प्रकार से कल्याण हो, कल्याणकारी सरकार है, उससे संबंधित जो जमीनी स्तर के कार्यकर्ता हैं उन्होंने अपने सुझाव दिए।
Addressing a curtain raiser function of Wings 2020 organized by FICCI and Civil Aviation Ministry in New Delhi, Union Minister Hardeep Puri said that Air India privatization was moving in the right direction and that this will further strengthen the sector. Wings 2020 focuses on various aspects of aviation sector, will be held in Hyderabad in March.
We are currently in the process of a privatization program for our flag carrier. And I think the process is sufficiently evolved, and the what you call the PIM or the expression of interest will grow out very slowly, very shortly. All the evidence I have, including the expressions of interest which have already come in, think that we are on the right path, and that this privatization will strengthen the civil aviation sector, and it will contribute to the expansion of the sector both in the short and the medium term.
And let's now move on to all the sports news. Well, a glitzy opening ceremony will kick off the third edition of the Khelo India Youth Games, where 6,800 athletes from 37 states and union territories will compete in 20 sports disciplines. Union Sports Minister Kiren Rijiju and Assam Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal will be present at the opening ceremony that will be held at the Indira Gandhi Stadium in Guwahati today.
The countdown has begun for the third edition of the Khelo India Youth Games. The opening ceremony, which will be held at the Indira Gandhi Stadium on Friday, will witness the presence of Assam's Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal and Union Sports Minister Kiren Rijiju, along with a host of star athletes, including country sprint sensation Hima Das. The opening ceremony on Friday is expected to be a glitzy affair with the innovative use of lighting and technology. Special acts have been devised to celebrate the natural beauty and cultural wealth of Assam, along with heroes of the state.
To make Guwahati as a sports capital of the country, to achieve that goal, we are trying to develop our infrastructure. We are developing our boys and girls in such a manner that they could draw the attention of the not only India but rest part of the world. To inspire our young generation, this is a golden opportunity for all of us. Khelo India Youth Camp 2020.
The various stadiums that we've got here, the various venues like Khorkhojai Sports Complex, Nehru Stadium, LNIP in Sonapur, and all these venues have also been upgraded, and all the required infrastructure is in place. And in fact, the sports department and all other agencies involved with the games are absolutely prepared for this mega event.
The third edition of the Khelo India Youth Games will have several first-time initiatives by the government, including having aircrafts dedicated to ferrying athletes from Kolkata and Delhi to Guwahati, and a Go Green program that will see electric cars at the venues. Around 6,800 athletes across 37 states and union territories will compete in a total of 20 sports events, including new additions, lawn bowls and cycling, in 8 venues across Guwahati during the competition. The total strength of the participation at the games is 10,000 people, including athletes, officials, volunteers and support staff.
The opening ceremony of Khelo India Youth Games will be a larger-than-life event. A large number of crew members, support staff and technical staff will make it a grand event. The cultural heritage of Assam will also be displayed at this opening ceremony. With camera person Sandeep, this is Narendra Singh reporting for DD News, Guwahati.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Narayan. Narayan, good morning. First of all, let's talk about the glitzy opening ceremony where the Indian sprinter Hima Das will be the torchbearer. Just take us through the preparations in place and the excitement that's all building up.
Good morning, Nancy. A world-class environment is there regarding the games. The people of Guwahati and also the athletes are upbeat about the games. And the people of Guwahati wants to watch these young athletes to perform in their city. All the preparation are ready for the opening ceremony of the games. It will be a world-class event. More than 400 plus crew members and more than 400 plus staff, support staff and technicians will make it a larger-than-life event. Apart from this, the cultural heritage of Assam will also be displayed in the opening ceremony, and a theme regarding the Fit India movement will be also displayed to encourage people regarding the fitness of their own fitness. And the sports minister and the chief minister of Assam, Sarbanand Sonowal, will also be there at the opening ceremony of the Khelo India Games. The most important thing is that the mood is very nice in Assam here regarding the Khelo India Games. People want to watch the young athletes to perform here.
Okay. And a lot of focus is also on environment this time. You know, the theme is of course Go Green. So, you know, the games not only because electric cars will be used at the venues. So the games is not only creating a strong sports ecosystem in the country, Narayan, but also taking a very pro-environmental stand in that sense.
Many first-time initiative has been taken in this game. First, you can, as you have said, that the eco-friendly games are there. 4 electric cars are installed in the different venues for the inter-venue transfer of the athletes and dignitaries. Also, the charging stations are installed at the various venues. It is mainly to promote the adoption of the electric cars to the people of India, so that it can cut the carbon emission by 37%.
Absolutely.
And apart from this can also cut the nation's demand of electricity and power by 64%. So it's an initiative to encourage people to adopt electronic vehicles. And apart from this, there is a free service for the athletes from Delhi to Guwahati and Kolkata to Guwahati, so that they can come to participate in this game. 8 dedicated airlines are there for the athletes to participate in these games.
Right, and absolutely, you know, talking about how this edition, the 3rd edition of the Khelo India Youth Games is going to be so very memorable, Narayan, because, you know, the onset of more talent in the under 17 and under 21 age groups and the presence of defending champions, you know, does ensure that this edition of the Khelo India Youth Games becomes so memorable and so exciting.
Definitely, even the administrators here, even the Assam CM said that they want to make it the best Khelo India Games. Not only, but it's a world-class game. They want to make it because they have done all the arrangements. If you see the facilities, the infrastructure is the world-class, and the equipments for the athletes, even they are competing at the under 17 and the under 21 age. The equipment are shipped from all across the world, so that they can world-class environment here. Apart from this, it's not about Khelo India. It's not only about just winning the international medal, as the PM Modi said in 2018 when he declared these games open. He said that the games is also about promoting the grassroots level culture in the sporting ecosystem of India. And we can also say that it's the Khelo India Games is all about expanding the base of a sporting pyramid.
Absolutely.
If the Olympic medal is the pinnacle of this pyramid, then the Khelo India Youth Games is the base of this pyramid, in which the children of India in every school, in every street and every colony of India are every day playing sports. And so it's not only about making India a sports hub in the world, but it's also about making fitness and sending the information of sports to the last man standing in the queue.
Absolutely right, Narayan. Thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those inputs. We'll of course be getting more inputs from you through the day to day. Thanks very much. And of course, this edition that goes on till 22nd of January. And in more sports news, well, to go with the winning combination or give much needed game time to Sanju Samson and Manish Pandey. Well, that is the dilemma that Team India is facing ahead of the third and the final T20 international against Sri Lanka in Pune today. India will look to clinch the T20 international series after taking a 1-0 lead in the series. A good bowling display followed by a clinical chase saw India win the second T20 international in Indore after the first match in Guwahati was abandoned. Sri Lanka, who will be without the services of injured all-rounder Isuru Udana, will be aiming for a better showing with the bat after squandering a good start by the openers in the second T20 at the Holkar Stadium. With fellow opener KL Rahul putting in another fine display, Shikhar Dhawan will be looking to make a mark after a moderate performance in the second T20. Saina Nehwal and reigning world champion PV Sindhu produced dominating performances to progress to the women's singles quarterfinals of the Malaysia Masters tournament on Thursday. 6th-seed Sindhu notched up a commanding 21-10, 21-15 victory over Japan's Aya Ohori in a pre-quarterfinal match lasting just 34 minutes. It was Sindhu's 9th successive win over Ohori. Meanwhile, Saina stormed into the women's singles quarterfinals with a straight game win over South Korea's An Se-young on Thursday. The unseeded Indian, who had won the Indonesia Masters last year before going through a rough patch, dispatched Young 25-23, 21-12 after a thrilling 39-minute contest. This is Saina's first win over the South Korean, who got the better of the Indian in the quarterfinals of the French Open last year. The two-time Commonwealth Games champion will next take on Olympic champion Carolina Marin in the quarterfinals. And let's now move on to our next segment, to the morning print, to get you a glimpse of what the national dailies are carrying this morning. We are beginning first with this news from the Indian Express, and this talks about how after security agencies raise concerns, Soleimani killing prompts government to tighten the drone rules. While the centre is likely to tighten its drone regulations in the wake of two major global attacks involving unmanned aircraft systems over the last few months, the first in September in Saudi Arabia, refineries that impacted nearly half of the country's global crude supply, and the other last week when Iran's top military commander General Qasem Soleimani was killed in Baghdad. Now, two senior government officials who are aware of the deliberations to tighten the regulatory framework said the move to step back on the drone policy has been prompted by fresh red flags raised by the security agencies. Let's now move on to this piece of opinion being carried in the Hindustan Times, and this talks about how India's energy choices are critical for the world, and this is written by the CEO of Niti Aayog, Amitabh Kant, and Fatih Birol, who is the executive director of the IEA. And this is talking about how India's energy sector has undergone a remarkable transformation in recent years, laying the foundations for an important new phase in its development. How 25 years back, half of India's population had no access to electricity, but today, while thanks to the successful implementation of recent government policies, 99.9% of households have electricity. And a push to improve the availability of clean-looking solutions in rural areas has resulted in a blue flame revolution with more than 80 million new liquefied petroleum gas connections. And coupled with that, this has also increased the clean cooking access to about 98% households. And this talks about how India has already proven it can overcome seemingly impossible challenges in the developing its energy sector. Well, the IEA and the Government of India look forward to working closely together to continue improving the lives of India's 1.3 billion citizens by increasing their access to clean, secure and affordable energy. Moving on now to the Asian Age, another piece of opinion that I would like to share here, and this is about prospects of war in the Gulf recede, with of course that statement that came in by the US President Donald Trump, and no statement thereafter by from Iran's side. And this is in fact talking about how first the killing of Qasem Soleimani was ordered, but Tehran showed good sense in giving an example of proportionate retaliation when it shot off cruise missiles against US military targets in the next door Iraq that did not cause much damage. Fortunately, open conflict has been averted. But the global oil prices that looked like climbing precipitously after the killing of Soleimani in anticipation of the impact of this unforeseen event on petroleum supplies from the region are back in the normal range, and India's economy that has been spared a further blow. Iran had to respond militarily in line with the overwrought emotional outburst in the country. While this was dire necessity, to maintain national unity, but its leadership was careful, though, not to be causing a wider conflagration in the region. And it further says it appears that Donald Trump's recent show of aggression was not backed by professional military and diplomatic expertise, of which there is no shortage in America. Perhaps the US leader just wanted to make a splash to impress his support base, but he's ill-served America's overall interest, this piece goes on to say. And talking about this news from the Times of India, how conviction rate in the IPC crimes at 50% for first time since 1988. And this is talking about how the first time in over 3 decades, the conviction rate for the Indian Penal Code cases has touched 50%. And in fact, the last time the conviction rate for the IPC crimes crossed 50% was in 1988. Alright, with that, it's a wrap on the morning print for now. Let's move on now to our next segment, that's History of the Day, taking a look back at the significant developments that took place on this day in the past.
On January 10, 1966, Tashkent Declaration, a peace agreement between India and Pakistan, was signed that resolved the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. Indian Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri and Pakistani President Muhammad Ayub Khan signed the Tashkent Declaration in Tashkent, Soviet Union. On this day in 2008, Tata Group Chairman Ratan Tata unveiled Nano, the world's cheapest car priced at Rs 1 lakh at the Auto Expo in New Delhi. On this day in 1863, the London Underground, the world's oldest underground railway, was opened between London Paddington Station and Farringdon Station. On the same day in 1946, the first meeting of the United Nations General Assembly took place in the Westminster Central Hall in London, with 51 nations represented. On this very day in 1972, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman returned to a freshly liberated and sovereign Bangladesh as the president after spending over 9 months in prison in Pakistan.
And let's now move on, take a look at the important events listed for today.
The Supreme Court to resume hearing centers plea seeking transfer of petitions challenging constitutional validity of the Citizenship Amendment Act pending before different high courts to the apex court. The Supreme Court likely to take up a batch of petitions filed by Rohingya immigrants about their living conditions and the centre's statement over 2 years ago to deport 40,000 of them back to their native land of Myanmar. The Congress Working Committee under the chairmanship of Sonia Gandhi likely to meet to discuss the party's strategy and the political situation arising out of the students' protests and violence on the JNU campus. A special session of Gujarat Assembly to be convened in which a proposal to support the CAA will be moved. The first lunar eclipse of 2020 to occur, it will be a penumbral eclipse where the moon moves through the faint outer part of Earth's shadow.
And let's now move on to our health story of the day. And while winter has its own charm, but have you ever realized the havoc it could wreak on your skin? While the cold air robs the natural moisture from your skin, leaving it dry and itchy. It can even cause severe dry skin or eczema. Well, that's why you need to take care of your skin, and that's how you could do it.
Cold and dry weather can prove harsh for your skin and cause many skin problems.
Winter season is considered to be one of the best seasons. It's a healthy season, it's a very enjoyable season. But winter season is also brings certain problems in the skin. It generally causes dryness of the skin, and particularly in people who are elderly, whose skin are a little compromised, and also in some people who have certain skin diseases like psoriasis, the disease gets aggravated, a disease condition like ichthyosis, and then also the atopic dermatitis, and then some other diseases of the skin also can get aggravated during winter.
It is important to know what can be done to prevent the problems of skin in the cold weather and how to take care of skin during winter months.
Clean your skin thoroughly every day with soap and water. Moisturize the skin with glycerin and water, which can be mixed and kept in the bathroom, and it should be applied. It's very important that it should be applied soon after bath before the skin dries up, so it captures the moisture. One could also use coconut oil to keep the skin moisturized, and sometimes people have cracked heels and dry skin on the hands and feet, where they can apply Vaseline also. It's also important that you clean your hair also regularly to prevent dandruff formation. Cleanliness of the skin can prevent up to 80% of the skin diseases. So it's very important that skin should be kept clean and healthy, and also you should have a nutritious, balanced, healthy diet.
Maintaining adequate hydration and proper skin care may help to keep away skin problems and get a bright and glowing skin during winters. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
And let's now take a look at the weather conditions for today. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the Breakfast News. We'll see you on Monday now. But before we go today, we are leaving you with the glimpses of Chile's Buin Zoo, which celebrated the recent birth of a rare pygmy hippopotamus as part of its breeding program for the endangered species. Take a look at those visuals, and we wish you a great day and a great weekend ahead. Thanks for being with us.